Because what you, the unsung heroes in the wastewater industry do, matters. Join me, Suzan Chin-Taylor, the Doo-Doo Diva, a longtime veteran of the wastewater, trenchless, and civil infrastructure industry each week as I deliver industry know-how from industry pros who know how. Whether you want to learn about the latest trends in technology, training and retaining great talent, sales and marketing, leadership and growth, or simply how to be more efficient, productive, or profitable, this podcast is for you. Let's dive in.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Doo-Doo Divas Smells Like Money podcast. Today, I have the great pleasure of visiting with Jeff Jones, who is the Director of Sales and Marketing for Oland. And I'm going to let him talk a little bit about what Oland does. And the reason why I wanted to have him on the show is because they are a consulting firm that specializes in the skilled trades for our industry. HVAC, plumbing, septic, you name it. And I had met another partner in the firm at the recent WWETT show, loved his topic, and reached out and invited some of the members of their team to come and be on the show because I think they've got a lot to share. And so this is going to be the start of a series that we are going to have with the Oland team members. So welcome to the show, Jeff.
Well, thank you, Suzanne. So it's a pleasure to be here. I greatly appreciate the opportunity and to talk to you and to talk to all of your audience.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit in a nutshell, what exactly the firm does for the industry.
Yeah, great question. The owner of our company, Chuck Oland, was a small business owner in the trades for a long time, he and his brother. And he sort of stumbled into this world of coaching and advisory services and training by default. His background was real passionate. He loved the industry and he loved getting his hands dirty, but he's really into spreadsheets and numbers and math and trying to make money.
Yep.
And so he got asked to start. A lot of business owners are really good at a lot of things, but don't understand all the dynamics when it comes to the accounting side and the importance of being able to make decisions off of financial reports and be able to make management decisions off of data. So he started writing some articles for various trade magazines and taking complicated accounting terms, but putting them in a way that you and I and a normal person can understand who doesn't have the accounting background and go, oh, that's what that means. And that's how I can use that. And it was really just for information to share it more so than anything. And he started getting phone calls from people going, I love this, still don't get it. You know, can you spend a couple minutes with me? And it took him a little bit of time as he picked on more and more people, and hired them to come in and spend some time with them to understand, like, this is a lot of fun helping other people grow their business and become better business owners and build better teams and build better businesses. And maybe I don't have to break my back every single day. Maybe I can, get a comfy chair and become one of those consultant guys and try and figure this out. So 38 years later, we have clients in just about every state, along with customers when it comes back to the training side of what we do, most of Canada. And we also work in Australia. So it's a lot of fun. Everybody, no matter what area you're in, are going through a lot of the same challenges. Doesn't mean the solutions are all the same, but let's identify where you are and where you want to get to, and then put a plan in place and then help execute on that through proper management, leadership, education, training, drive, accountability, and everything else that you're going to need to build the business that was the reason you started this thing for initially and become the business owner you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. You summed it all up, is that we start this business because we have, or whatever business we're in as an entrepreneur, because we have a passion for it. But oftentimes we don't want to admit that we may be weak in one area. We may be really good at doing this one thing, but we struggle with reading the spreadsheet, or we struggle with how do we create messaging that actually converts an inquiry into a customer. And so it's important to recognize, I think, as business owners, and it's great that there's firms like yours, firms like mine, that it's okay to raise your hand and say, you know what, I've got to admit that I don't know, or I know what I don't know.
Yeah,
and I need some help with that. And so today's topic is going to be really going to dive into budgeting for your marketing and planning for that marketing strategy. And what are some of the foundational things that you need to know going in? Everybody's thinking if they're starting out, oh, I've got to bootstrap this. But I will just share from experience that when I made the decision to delegate and hire some additional help just for what I was doing in the business and offloading it and not trying to do everything myself, my sales and my revenue grew exponentially very, very quickly. And it's so hard to let go sometimes, but sometimes it's the only way that you're going to grow. And so because of that, we need to plan and we need to have a budget for it. And so as a skilled trades business, we hear lots of rules of thumb. How much or percentage of my revenue should I be setting aside for marketing? And it can really vary. And so I've got my own answers in my head, but I want to hear it from you and your experience in skilled trade business and what should they realistically be setting aside or thinking about for a marketing spend? What should their KPIs, and if they don't know what that means, I want you to explain it, what their KPIs should be, and how that aligns with what you spend is going to align with where you want to go in your growth. Because I have been in a prior career, I was with a company that said, okay, we want to grow the sales by 60% this year, but we're slashing your marketing budget by 50%. Well, guess what, guys? That math doesn't work. That math formula is not going to work. If you want to grow the sale, you have to grow the budget with it because they do go hand in hand. What is that old adage? You got to spend some to make some, but that's not to say that you have to spend the moon and back.
Spend stupidly. Yep. Yeah.
There's a lot of things, and I want you to touch on that. There's so many things right now out there that you can do yourself. Some you have to hire out, and with AI tools, it's amazing. But that we can do things on a reasonable budget. But again, it has to be realistic. And so with that, I'm going to be quiet and let you give me your take on this subject of budgeting for successful marketing.
Yeah, great setup. So I appreciate that very much. If you're going to come to me and say, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z, my first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask why. So if you come and you tell me that I want to grow my business this year by 20%, I don't know if that's the right or wrong answer, and probably you don't either. So my question is why? And not just because, and whenever somebody tells me how much they want to grow by, it's always in multiples of 5. It's either 15, 20, 25, 50, or 100. Okay, so where did that number come from? And I want a real answer, because if that number is because I think that's what I can do and it sounds cool, okay, well, we're not at that point in the plan yet. We got to move up a couple levels and figure out where we want to get to 5 years from now and take the first step towards that. Because that answer might be 10%, that answer might be 20%, it might be something different. There's no right or wrong there. Let's figure that out on the why. And then we want to take a look at where is that going to come. And I like going in this order. I like throwing the ideas out there first. I like getting excited about the project. So, hey, I'm gonna do these things differently over here in this line of service, and I'm gonna increase my awareness and my presence over here. I'm gonna make these calls that are gonna take place, or I'm gonna hire this sales rep over here. Great. And let's write all of that down and say, if we're going to grow by 15%, what's our average ticket price? How many leads do we have to get in order to close a job, and then times it by the average ticket price, and that tells you how many more that you have to close in order to get there. So how many calls, how many emails, how many stops does it take? And you work it backwards. You start with that number, and then you work it back from a monthly, weekly, daily rate of the system. How many of each individual things do I need to do? Because statistically, this is what I need to know in order to close that money to create these jobs. And then once you've got all of that figured out, now let's talk about how much that's going to cost, because your excitement is going to go from here to here most of the time because you can't afford it. And now what that's going to tell me is what means the most to you. What's the most realistic? What can you do? And now we can start having a better conversation about, absolutely, I think hiring 3 sales reps would be absolutely fantastic up until the second week that you got to pay them. And so maybe 1 is better. And let's talk through now what that sales rep looks like and what is the responsibilities of it. Where are they going to come from, and how are they going to be involved in the marketing budget? So if you're looking at a KPI or key performance indicator, and you have lagging and leading, and we can get into all of that and what that means. But typically, if you are in growth mode with your business, about 10% is going to be the number there that you're going to spend in a marketing thing. And a lot of times it's going to include salary in that. If you are not in as aggressive of a growth mode, that number can drop between 2 to 5% on depending on what we're going to do. But there are other variables that we're going to take in play there on where you're spending that advertising dollar. And I also want to know what your return is. Because if your return is outstanding on every single dollar that you're spending in marketing because you're killing it, then we're going to spend more money in marketing. If you're not really good at it and you're struggling with it, let's pull that back and let's focus on getting the message right before we do anything else. Because every website that I go on, and for most companies, the same. And there's nothing on there that's telling me. And every one of these ads that are annoying as they pop up on Facebook and LinkedIn and all these other places don't cause me to pick up the phone. They don't cause me to remember your business. We're throwing good money after bad. So get the message first, get the differentiator first, get all of that in play. Then let's figure out where's the best use of the dollars based off of how much you want to grow and your ability to do it well.
That's a great answer. And so when we think about where we want to spend the money, what have you seen trend-wise for budget allocation? Because we're going to be talking about this in another episode about branding and differentiation and how the marketplace is dynamically changing almost on a daily basis. Don't want to do a spoiler alert there, but where do you see that trades business should really be looking to allocate funds? Where should they be focusing on things? Because we've seen that shift. We don't do the yellow pages anymore. We're all doing it online. We're doing it into these other areas. I guess I'm asking, where are you seeing trends where your clients are starting to see the best return on investment for their marketing spend in their markets? And it may be different in different markets, but just what you're seeing, I would guess, most commonly happening right now.
Most commonly, I would say people are spending money on Google ads, on SEO, on Google, on callback. And I'm going to tell you that that's probably not the best use of it. Those are very expensive ads. They are very easy to scroll through. Now, if you're paying to be in that top 3 up there when you first go on to Google, that's a different story. You can get a little bit more strength if you can pay to get up there, but that gets exceptionally expensive. So for a lot of companies, it's not reasonable to stay up there the whole time. And I'm talking about the paid ones that are out there, not just the SEO. Of course, SEO is important and you got to be on page 1. That's not going to go away. But the Google ads, I'll tell you, me personally, we slashed our Google ad budget this year. We're all into video. We're all into video and we're all into YouTube because that's where people are. People don't necessarily go on Google anymore to Google how to. I'll give you an example. I'm not a plumber. I twice in my life had a garbage disposal break. So I'm not an expert on garbage disposals, but they're not overly complicated, but you need a little bit of a refresher course if you haven't had to put one in quite a while. And where's the first place I go? It's not Google, it's YouTube. I go to YouTube.
How do I?
How do I? And I want to be able to learn off of there. And we'll get into this, I think, a little bit more when we get into the AI discussion. That's going to change very quickly as well. But people, right now, it's video and it's organic video. It's not the stuff that is heavily produced. It is not heavily produced ads. It's not AI ads, and you know them when you see them because they're all written in the exact same way and they're very cold and they have dumb little emojis all over the place. No, they are personal and they are real life and they are creative and they're funny. And you do half as many as you think you need because you have to put more time into creating better ones. And I want people to start thinking of marketing in the way that you want to be marketed to. You don't want to be hit over the head all day long with ads that don't give you any information or any reason to buy other than you get to see somebody's logo that you're going to forget the minute you quit looking at it. Think of it with empathy. If somebody is going to, whether purposefully or be forced to give their time to view your ad, make it worth it to them. Make it an experience. And you're going to miss on 8 of the 10 of them. And that's okay. But the 2 that you get right will blow up. And those are the ones now that you start throwing money behind because now we've got winners. So rather than just creating an ad and throwing money at it and hoping that it works, you have the opportunity to beta test these things for free. Create them organically, create them with some excitement, create them with a peek behind the scenes of who you are and why you do this because you're a human, they're a human. There is no such thing as person-to-person sales and marketing. There's no such thing as business, selling to a business. It is it is always a human being selling to another human being or
Right.
marketing to another human being, and create all of the ads with that intent of how do you want to be sold? What do you like? And then build those. When they fail, but one will work and it will produce so much more than a paid ad on Google and a brand here or a billboard there, and create an identity with that.
And I would agree with you because I believe that, those paid ads, we all know on Google, we know that people are paying to be there. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're the best choice. They're just up there at the top, not because Google ranked them because of the quality of their content or what they're standing for, but because they paid to be there. And I don't know about you, but when I'm searching, I usually go down a little bit further because I feel like I'm going to get that more, what do I want to say, honest, transparent choice a little further down that first page than I do the guy that just happened to have enough money to throw at it for that ranking. And then there's also, I'm glad that you brought up Google Ads because we have a customer that also wound up backing off on their Google Ads because they were finding, however it was set up by, whoever they were working with, they work in a geographic area. They can only work in this area just because of where they are. And they were getting click-throughs from all over the world. And so you're paying every time someone clicks, whether they're in your target area or not. And so it's how are you, again, like you were saying, you have to be really careful. How are you spending those marketing dollars? Are you getting that return? Are you getting that conversion? And we're going to talk about that a little later too, is that you can get them to the website. Then what happens? If you don't take them on that great buyer's journey, they don't convert. And so that $2.30 or that peak time, that $5.75 that you paid for that one click through, you might as well just flush that down the toilet, no pun intended for the industry. But we really need to start taking a look at what do we spend and how do we spend it? And to try, like you were saying, try something. But again, if it's not working, don't feel like, oh, I'm married to this. I decided this was part of my business plan and I have to sit. No.
Chuck it.
Be willing to pivot and shift. It's kind of that dance. You've got to constantly in marketing being willing to be dancing around until you find that thing that really, like you were saying, really resonates, makes someone raise their hand and says, I want to work with you. And you're absolutely right. People do not buy a logo. People do not buy from a brand. They do not buy from a truck. They buy from people.
Buy from people. Yeah. And here's where this online stuff gets really screwy. And the way these browsers are all set up, and I feel exactly what they call it, but they have a set goal where they have budgets in place where keywords have to be hit because so many dollars have been spent on these different keywords.
Yes.
Whether that keyword actually applies to your business or not doesn't matter, but they got to hit the budget and they got to be able to do it in 3 attempts. So somebody types in 3 different times, they've got to get, no matter where they want to get to, they got to get them over here to hit what's top in the budget. And that may have absolutely nothing to do with your business, but now you're getting clicked on to hit a budget or something that has nothing to do with you. And so be very, very careful with how you spend this money and where you go with it. But if you are using an advertising agency, they should be able to tell you what are the most important keyword searches, and they're by the word. You get a word wrong in there sometimes and you're going to be completely thrown off. So when you're having those discussions with your SEO company, make certain they're showing you the list of what are people searching for in these zip codes and where am I ranking on all of these and why am I not ranking number 1 and what do I need to be able to do, because there's going to be stuff within the website that will help with that. But at the end of the day, create a YouTube short video and put that up, and it's going to do so much more than everything else.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, we were saying about people, and the YouTube videos are a great example because now you're seeing a person talking. It's not just an ad. It's helping to create that human connection in what has become a virtual selling environment. We'd all like to think we're going to go back to the way it was before COVID, but we're not. We are in a virtual selling environment. And so whether you're doing B2B or B2C, you've got to shift with the
Get rid of
times.
that mindset. It is a
You've got to
human being
change that
can leave
mindset.
it. Mrs. Johnson's going to invite you into her home with her kids and her dog and her husband or whoever, significant other, whoever it is. That level of trust, that as much trust as you can build ahead of time, the better your life is going to be.
Right. Which gives us a great segue into, you were talking about people. People buy from people. And so in our next episode, we're going to continue this conversation about hiring effectively for your business, for the sales function of your skilled trade service business. And so, Jeff, thank you. I really appreciated your weigh in on this. It so resonates with me because having done this a lot of, for a lot of years in this industry, we're on the same page with so many things. And it's kind of nice to hear someone almost kind of confirm what you've always been believing in your head as the right thing, but that they're telling me, yeah, this is what we've been experiencing it too. And it's like, okay, so it's not just me preaching, preaching to the choir, so to speak. So I look forward to continuing this dialogue and the next part in this series about sales personnel. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And until next time, keep it flowing.
Be sure to subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode. If you're an industry expert and would like to be considered as a guest on the show, click the Be a Podcast guest link below in the show notes for more information. Thanks again for joining me, the Doo Doo Diva, on this week's episode of the Smells Like Money podcast.